All right. Hello again, Canvas Insiders. This is Chris, and as you are well aware of, I am a Canvas admin for Western Washington University, and I wanted to try something a little bit different, mainly having a conversation with one of my colleagues for over a decade, I would say, an instructional designer at Western Washington University. This is AJ Barse,
Hello.
and AJ Barse and I have been colleagues for, a hot minute. And I have been one to not get into this area as much, but AJ has really done an immersion deep dive, if you will, down the rabbit hole, all those wonderful idioms and about those two letters that we're always talking about for AI. And it's not academic interrogation, it's artificial intelligence. So, AJ, it's great to be able to chat with you.
Yeah.
You can also check out AJ on some of his solo projects, like the Analog Explorer. And AJ has a Digital Alchemist blog with Western Washington University. So, Google it, kids. It's worth the read. But what I wanted to chat about in this one is, first of all, I want to learn some stuff because AJ knows a lot about AI, especially when it involves academic integrity, academic dishonesty, fill in the blanks, there you go. In the difficulties faculty, higher ed and K-12 are having with student submissions. And recently, at the time of this recording, we are in mid-June or so, AJ had picked up on and shared with me, which I actually said an expletive that I'm not going to say here because I want to keep this clean for the kids, for the kids.
Family friendly,
about what technology is out there for students that can really be leveraged in some ways.
Yes.
So, AJ, what in my intro didn't I cover about you and your work with Western as a professional and some of your side projects and stuff?
No, I mean, you and I have known each other since Hector was a pup from the Bellingham podcast.
Yeah, something like that.
Over a decade. It hasn't been since after COVID and I became over from instructional technology over to instructional design that I kept my eye out on the horizon line of AI. And I kind of fell into this role where I've kind of become like the self-appointed czar of AI at Western. And I work closely with our academic integrity office, our provost office. And of course, as an instructional designer, I'm boots on the ground in the trenches with our faculty and getting my hands on samples of student works, how AI could or could not have been used in certain samples of works. And at the same time, also, there's our faculty that want to get ahead of the curve, an actual goal of using AI effectively and teaching it as a kind of a literacy skill.
That was explained so much better than I can explain it. So yes, my technical expertise with Canvas mainly involves using the plagiarism detection software that we would have at the university. SimCheck, made by Turnitin. But what you're doing goes beyond simply tracking against submissions that are already in repositories or other locations. This is the generative side of things.
Right. And so at Western we had SimCheck, and then you have like authenticity or something. I can't remember. They've of course all of these have made cute names for product names and such, but
marketing, yo.
Exactly. So like SimCheck and Turnitin, which is made by Turnitin, then you have Turnitin, the main product, which also has the plagiarism detection and then the AI detection. As of about a year ago, we, under the SimCheck product at Western, don't have the AI detection. And that kind of opened up a can of worms because a lot of faculty wanted that ability to check for both plagiarism and the potentiality of generative writing. And so out of that, with academic integrity to kind of provide my expertise, because I've been using machine learning for a lot longer since there was ChatGPT.
Yep.
And so kind of lending my eye and understanding in trying to kind of bridge what those faculty that want to use it and using it effectively and ethically. And then for those faculty who are more worried about its unethical use or inappropriate use in the class, and trying to keep an even keel with that, establishing protocols and process for evaluation and assessing those things for due process. At Western, there's a due process for academic appeals. And so trying to bring that in under academic integrity and help them with the mega load that this became overnight.
Yeah. Due process. What a wonderful thing. Anyway, that's a great synopsis of some of the work that you have done over the past couple of years, at least since fall 2023.
2.5 years now.
Yeah. Because not only have I provided support through beverages and listening to all of the work that you've done, we've trauma bonded over a lot of...
There might have been some trauma bonding, yes.
But there's one area in particular that just recently came onto the radar, and I wanted to talk about that. That involves... when we talk about web browsers, if you're on the Apple ecosphere, you got Safari. If you got a Chromebook, you're in Google Chrome. You can have Mozilla Firefox. You can have Microsoft Edge. You can have Brave browser. These are types of web browsers that you're accessing Canvas with, and also the World Wide Web. That's what the WWW stands for. There is a new-ish browser that had come on the market, and it's called Arc, not the Noah's kind. It's more like the Curve. And for the past couple of years, that's been kind of in development.
Yes.
There's a little bit of a difficult time they occurred with some vulnerabilities in that Arc browser. But then they came up with a little bit of a offshoot or a side fork, as the techie kids call it, called DIA, D-I-A.
Yeah.
And when AJ shared this with me, it was a whole lot of, oh my goodness, because, from a Canvas administrator standpoint, when a student takes a quiz, for example, DIA browser, thank you very much. DIA browser has a different way of handling tabs in a browser. Yeah. AJ, why don't you give the correctly articulated explanation of it?
You're good. So in all of my demoing, I've done their current product, which is Arc. Their next it's a different product. They're not sunsetting Arc. The trajectory of the arc of the sun, as it were, is there's a lot of har-hars because DIA, new day, that type of a thing. It's a new product. They're currently in alpha, and in it, everything that we know in Arc is basically being kind of moved up into it, and then bolstered a lot more with AI.
And as we're discussing this, let's go back to that term you stated, alpha.
Yes.
Now, in a lot of cases, I could be considered an alpha male because I'm a very gregarious, assertive individual. Alpha in the tech business means it's not ready for it's not ready for prime time. It's not fully developed.
Correct.
Bugs occur.
Oh, yeah.
However, as we're discussing this, dear Canvas insiders, you might be thinking, would students be using a product like this, bugs and all?
Well, and not at this point, because it's an invite only right now.
So it's not like MKBHD where you've been testing this for 2 weeks and such.
No. I've been using Arc, but no. So when we start with Arc, and then we'll go up into DIA. So Arc and DIA both are based off of Chromium. So it is a Chrome-based browser. You can use the same plugins that you all know and love. The interesting thing about Arc when they created it is they wanted to have an ecosystem where you have, instead of tabs across the top, you have spaces. And so you have, or having profiles. You can still have profiles because it's Chrome, but a space is a workspace where you have different tabs based off a topic. So you may have a workspace. You may have a research space. You may have
financial space.
Financial. I was going to say a media space.
There you go. That works.
You have for instance, I love, Chill Hop. I might have Chill Hop playing, and that'll be my media space. They also have an integrative web app type of thing where if you have a YouTube thing playing, you have a player in the main bar, which is on the left-hand side of the browser, because that's where all your tabs are. Your tabs aren't tabbed across the top. It's actually tabbed on the left. And in doing that, you can also nest it within folders, and you can use Max. So Max is their AI companion.
Is that MAX?
MAX.
Okay, thank you.
And so Max allows you, and the ideology of it is that it's using AI to help automate the stuff that you do in a browser. So for instance, let's say, and you and I have a lot of colleagues that do this, they live within their Chrome browser, and they have, in any typical week, 65 tabs going across. And
if you're still like that, Canvas Insider, where you got a whole lot of tabs, we still love you.
We still love you.
Please continue.
But, it would be nice to know, which of these am I still using? And so Max can see when you last did it and either reorganize them or clear them out if you haven't gone back to them in a while. You can also have Max do things like do a query of, hey, I'm looking for journal articles based off of this law. And say like, hey, create me a folder in my space with 5 of the best articles that relate on international copyright law. AI will go out, search what it can see for journal articles, compile those tabs, make a folder that says journal articles, and put it into your space. And that way you can go through it. So it's using it as an automative tool. There's another feature within it. And it's really, at first when I saw it, I thought it was an interesting idea. Command F or Control F if you're a Windows user. That's how you find anything on a page. They reinvented what find means. So instead of it being find on a page, it can be find within your tabs, or using AI, read those tabs and bring that information forward so you can query on the tab that you're on.
So that may raise some eyebrows from a couple of my
Correct.
insiders who are listening right now. Let's go into where things could go with that.
So I did a test, and I showed you in our team where I took a demo Canvas course that I have. It's called Camp Snoopy. And in it, Snoopy is the professor, Woodstock is the TA, and of course all the Peanuts crew is different students. And I had a syllabus that I created, and I actually put it on the landing page. I didn't use the syllabus designer. I just used the Canvas page, front home page, and put everything on there. You know, what workshops you'll be doing, the weeks, etc. Everything that you would typically see in a normal Canvas class. And I had an assignment up in one other tab, and then I had a quiz, because much like many faculty do, I was thinking week 1, it's the syllabus quiz, right? Mm-hmm. Easy 5 points, and you make sure that your students read your syllabus, right? And so I asked Max, hey, be my research assistant, and remember everything on these 3 tabs from Camp Snoopy, and help me out on this tab that I'm on, which is a quiz. And so the research agent gets created, and all locally, all within the browser. And it says, okay, I'm your research assistant, ask away. And so I asked it, question 1, copy and pasted the question into the prompt in my browser. Now, again, I am authenticated. I am logged in. And I asked, what's the answer to question 1? And the question was, who's the professor of your class? Well, that would be Snoopy. Correct. Who's the workshop leader for athletic events at Camp Snoopy? Charlie Brown. And it got that information because I told it to be my research assistant, and it can see what's on those other tabs while logged into Canvas. And that's the game changer. We've kind of, in higher ed, we've kind of hung our hat on the fact that security through obscurity, right? That old phrase where, oh, well, AIs can't be hooked into the LMS. It's sacrosanct. But what if the browser had a root level AI? And that would be no different than having a student look over another student's shoulder in Canvas, whispering in their ear, question number 1's answer is.
And so it's acting as a quiz is going on, as a little bit of a guide,
yes,
Sherpa,
yes,
helpful friend. What is it? Anthony Michael Hall's character in The Breakfast Club, who was the smart one, the brain, as you're taking a quiz.
Right.
So that was a bit of a concern.
Yes.
In a lot of ways, from having something within, because one can access Canvas through this Arc browser.
Right.
So I took that, and then I did a little bit of checking on my own with this DIA browser made by the Arc company, or the Arc.
So it's called the Browser Company.
Oh, okay.
And Arc
that's specific.
Yeah. No, the company is called the Browser Company.
Of course.
And Arc is what's currently out that we can test.
Okay. Well, I was able to download DIA on my Mac desktop computer for evaluation purposes.
Yes.
But I also went into full disclosure. While all content in the Canvas Insider, at least the stuff that I type in my posts, are my own original work, I went out to Gemini for this information. Start AI reference here. In Gemini, I asked the question, what unethical ways could DIA be used by a student in taking a Canvas quiz? And blah, 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 introductory paragraph. The first one was directly answering live quiz questions. How, during a live quiz, a student could copy and paste quiz questions, like AJ mentioned, into DIA's AI chat, or uses chat with tab feature if the quiz is open in a tab. This can then prompt DIA to answer this question or choose the correct option. And then it gives right after that, why it's unethical.
Right.
How quaint.
Right.
For generating on-the-fly essays and short answers.
Yep.
For Canvas quizzes that involve this, a student could paste the prompt into DIA, ask it to write an essay short answer or explain the concept in 200 words. And then why it's unethical. Of course, we know why it's unethical.
Right.
The real-time consultation for complex problems, for math problems, coding questions, complex analysis questions. A student could input the problem in DIA and ask, solve this problem or show the steps to solve this.
Correct.
Very similar to what a typical AI agent could provide. Circumventing open book intent. Even if they're allowed, the intent is for students to know the material. It goes on and on.
Yeah.
This was something that, as I saw the artificial intelligence response to the unethical side of how students could leverage this, I also went on the browser company's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
The smugness could not be more apparent as they are providing videos with upbeat young people, because I'm in a decade hep the hep cats. Yeah, as they're talking about how this can be applied for students.
Yes.
And that also raises the other eyebrow. Just so how they are producing this and targeting this and marketing this. We're in mid-June 2025 at the time of this recording. The next school year or academic year is months away.
Yes.
How this might be communicated through the underground network that is college students, that is outside of a Canvas discussion board, could get pretty prevalent.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
So the thing about this is, like, with DIA's launch, they've created like this kind of like small influencer network. There's promotional materials that if you want to be like an influencer on your campus for DIA, they kind of have like a little press package that they can do. And again, they're kind of trying to show use cases in academia and how they can get you to happy hour sooner as a student, as it were, right? And a lot of that you can still do even today with ARC. Now, with these two products, it's my understanding that with DIA, this is going to be kind of more of a paid, it's going to be a free browser, but with paid additions.
Asterisk.
With the current one, with ARC, really everything that's there is freely available. Short of if you want to use additional AIs within their browser, such as I have a Perplexity Pro account, I can use it along with Max so that it will funnel my Max stuff through to my Perplexity account, and then I can kind of use both at the same time. Same thing with ChatGPT. If you have a ChatGPT Pro account, you can use that within the browser as well. But with DIA, they are kind of making strides towards this idea of agentification of AI, where maybe there is a pre-packaged or pre-made agent that is a research assistant, like I mentioned, or a tutor or something like that. And kind of the pause for concern is that kind of like what you were alluding to with like within Canvas, is you don't have to leave the tab that you're on. You don't have to leave your discussion board. You don't have to leave the quiz. It can just be there persistent with you in the browser, and anything that it sees, it can funnel back to you. And
so let me kind of springboard onto an area as Canvas admin that I have had many instances of support with. There will be some professors at my university that are having concern about a student stating they did the quiz.
Yes.
But nothing is showing up in SpeedGrader nor in the gradebook. Can I help? Well, of course I can help. But what I can do as a Canvas admin, dear Canvas insiders, if you're a teacher or a professor or faculty, I'm able to see the page view logs of every account whenever they click on something like a link to a page, whether that's a content page, a quiz, when they click the button, take the quiz, et cetera, et cetera. It's logged with a date and timestamp and a whole lot of other information. Mm-hmm. One thing that I staged in efforts to try and discern which is which, I had content pages in a demo course of mine, not Peanuts related, it's another TV show related that you may see in some of my videos. But I had a content page that said Edge browser, and a content page that said Firefox browser, and Brave browser, and Chrome browser, and Dia browser. And when I opened up all the browsers, And then I went as myself, and then all in the same 10 seconds, I clicked on each link.
Yeah.
So that therefore it was a contiguous chunk of a page view log. And Edge showed up as the type of browser. Safari showed up as the Safari browser. Didn't mention that earlier, but I did that on my Mac desktop computer. Chrome showed up. Brave showed up. And Dia showed up as a Chrome browser.
Yeah.
And I want to backtrack. The Brave browser might have been Chrome as well because it's a Chromium
They're
based.
both Chromium.
Yeah. So I want to at least correct myself on that. Firefox showed up as Firefox.
Yeah.
But the thing with Dia, it does in structure in its current state of discernment of browser user agent type, viewed the Dia browser as I was doing my browsing around as a Chrome browser. This is not able to be discerned by a teacher if they want to see if a student was using that in taking a quiz.
Right.
At least in mid-June of 2025.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind,
right,
as you are considering how these quizzes are being deployed.
Yeah. The other thing that I started to test is kind of putting a fake question with it, because again, this is very reminiscent of like the early days of when Open AI brought ChatGPT to us. And so I kind of took a test run at this with my quiz, and I made number 3 unanswerable. It's a kind of a fake question. It has all of the hallmarks of a question. Like I specifically say Lucy and what they, what could they be teaching at the workshop. I can't remember what the question is. But she's not listed on my syllabus. And so it generated a answer, and it was wrong, naturally. Because I found it interesting that the AI didn't just come back and say, there's no information on that, or based on the information, there isn't a clear, like it just made up an answer. So hallucinations are still prevalent, at least in ARC.
Would that be considered what the kids call a Trojan horse?
Kind of like a Trojan horse. Going back to the early days of ChatGPT, something that some faculty and teachers were trying to do was salt or Trojan horse their assignment by putting a white sentence in with the rest of their writing at really small font. A lot of us in instructional design quickly tried to get the word out that is horrible to do. It is in breach of accessibility. And I mean, I get it. People were frustrated and they were trying to come up with something. But if somebody was using a screen reader, then now you've given your prompt that you put in there, somebody who relies and that doesn't have vision is getting that information. They think that is part of the question. So there was an unfairness with that. And in doing this test that I just mentioned of putting a fake quiz question, it's not that. It's not that type of Trojan horse. There's no breach of accessibility because it's a quiz question that you're going to throw out anyway. In this idea, I haven't quite gotten it to work, but it's something that I'm trying to think about of how do we combat? And I hate using that term because we shouldn't be confrontational with technology in higher ed, but in light of this, how do we trace or how do we put in something within our quiz to, flag that there might be potential use of either an AI or an agent working with that student as opposed to them doing their due diligence and taking the quiz that we put. And I don't have an answer. Like that's just the first thing that came to my mind. The second thing that came to my mind is the fact that we in higher education need to reassess writing because we've done it since the dawn of time, and that's how we assess students' learning. In light of AI, we're not ever going to ban it. It's not going to be, it's here. It's like saying the internet is here. The
toothpaste is out of the tube.
Exactly. And so we need to reassess how we use writing in courses, and we need to reassess our assessments. The open book, I think really this is kind of the death knell to the ideology of an open book quiz. Because if you allow for open book, open note, how is that any different than, okay, well, I have my notes. Maybe let's take ARC out of the equation. We use Google's Notebook LM. I know of students that have used it and use it for their learning. A lot of neurodiverse students use it because it can help adapt their learning process and their notes to them in their learning fashion. So what's not to say that they do that so that they can understand and then take a quiz? Well, that's AI. And in some cases, for some faculty, well, you can't do that because that's an AI. Well, it's my notes. And again, this comes into question a lot with like disability accommodations. Those notwithstanding, I'm kind of putting that to the side. I'm just saying for the general student, the fact is that if you offer open book and open note, then you're going to have to disclose, that means paper notes, or that means notes, dumb notes. No smart notes. Mm-hmm. How are you going to define that? And I think that's really what your Canvas Insiders need to kind of think about going into the fall, is disclosing and defining, having common terms, and don't make assumptions, because students are going to student. If they get their hands on something and it helps them get to happy hour sooner, or helps them facilitate their learning better, they're going to jump on it, especially if it's free. Right?
Absolutely. I mean, back how many years ago? 4 or 5 years ago, there was a product that started with CH and rhymed with leg. That was a great resource that a lot of students were jumping on, and we had to respond. Look where we're, take a look at us now and what we're contending with. It's my intention for conversations such as this on the Canvas Insider to be around 30 minutes for a little bit of a, bite-sized morsel of information. AJ and I can talk for hours upon hours, if you couldn't tell by now. If you're interested, dear Canvas Insider, to hear more about what's coming up, shoot me an email, canvasinsider@protonmail.com. AJ, I made a mention of some of your side projects. How can those listening in access your Digital Alchemist blog, which is incredibly informative and fairly up to date with like breaking news level stuff that you post on your site? Where can someone find that?
Yep. So that's wp.www.edu/AJ Barse, Barse. It's my official blog for instructional design at Western.
And the WP stands for Way Professional.
Absolutely. It's actually a WordPress, because I'm also one of the friendly neighborhood WordPress admins at Western.
Very good. And then outside of your work at Western, which is stellar, you're a member of the Watch fam, yes, if you will. And I believe you have an area of the web available there.
Yep. That's analogexplorer.com. And yes, it's about watches and a lot of just the analog life. Something that I refer to as the analog manifesto, and being more present and what that means, especially given the topic of AI, what that's going to mean to be more human in the real world.
wp.wwu.edu/AJ Barse, analogexplorer.com. You know what to do, Canvas Insiders. Once you're done with this episode, you go click on that or type in that information and check his stuff out. Thanks very much for listening, and have a good day.